Welcome to the Module 5 Skills video Part 1. In this video we'll be looking at advanced querying techniques, and to save time I'll have pre-designed several of these queries. The first querying technique we'll look at is using pattern match. So following the books example with the Care Center database, I'm going to create a pattern match on the zip code field. So under zip code, and zooming it, I'm going to create a pattern match looking for zip codes that start with 824. So to do that, I'll type in like, and from there, because this is a short text field, I will type 824 and then add an asterisk at the end. From here, once I run the query, this will return all zip codes that start with 824. Another example of using a pattern match, I'll use the first name field and show you the difference between the two. I want to show all owners with a first name that starts with T. So zooming in my criteria, once again I will type in like, and if I just want to see those owners that start with the letter T, I'll type in T. And case is not sensitive here, so it can be lower or upper, and then add an asterisk. Once I run it, I'll return all owners with a first name that starts with the letter T. That's one example. If I include a asterisk before the T, what this will do then is return all owners that start with the letter T, end with the letter T, or have T in the name. So running it now, I go from 3 records to a total of 6 records. So I've got a first name that ends with T, I have a T in the middle of a name, I have a name that starts with T, ends with T, starts with T, and starts with T. Difference when you're using a pattern match, if you have asterisks on either side, that will match up criteria where that particular letter falls anywhere within that field. The next query we'll look at uses the in-list of values. As I mentioned in the concepts video, using an in-list is a much more elegant way of performing an OR criteria query. Using the city as an example, I'm going to zoom in, and I'm going to create an in-list of values using particular cities. So I'm going to look for Cody, and again, this is a short text field, so I need to enclose it in quotation mark. I'll look for Ralston, and I'll just leave those two. Once I've created my in-list of values and I run the query, now the results are returned where it's only owners that reside in the city of Cody or Ralston. If a field or a table has multiple cities, say 8 or 10 city varieties, I could use a not operator to negate and bring back all of the other cities. So for this example, I know there are a total of around 5 cities. So if I don't want to include Cody and Ralston in my results, I could simply type in not before the in, so it specifies not in Cody or Ralston. And once I run the query, now the results that are returned do not include owners from Cody or Ralston. The next query we'll look at is the parameter query. The parameter query will prompt a user to enter a value as criteria for a field. Using the same field we did last time, the city field, we'll create a parameter query based on this field. So to do so, simply add a square bracket and type in the message that you want to appear. So for this one, I'll use the message, please type in city, and make sure that you surround it in square bracket. Once I click OK and run the query, I receive the dialog box, please type in the city. So a user types in the city, and when they run it, that city is returned. Now again, the problem with a parameter query is if somebody misspells it, they will return an empty record set. Or in this particular example, if they don't specify anything, again, an empty record set results. To create a more enhanced version of a parameter query, we're going to include pattern matching. For this example, I'm going to change my criteria to the last name value to demonstrate the two different methods. For last name, I'll zoom that in. And the first one is the one that I told you to use, where you include the asterisk before and after the parameter itself. To add the pattern match, we will type in like, and then using quotation marks, add an asterisk and then an ampersand. That glues it together. And from here, I'll enter my prompt. And finally, I'll include another wildcard at the end. Once I run this query, if I don't enter anything, this will return every record in the query, all 26. If I run it again and I type in, for example, S and click OK, now this is going to return every record where there is an S either at the beginning of the name or within the name somewhere. With the book, the example it gave specified to use this type of a like, where you do not include the asterisk at the beginning. The big difference here is, of course, if you run it and don't enter anything, you'll still get back the 26 records, but if we rerun it using the same criteria of S, this will now only return last names that start with the letter S. Using an asterisk before and after is the preferred method for using pattern match with a parameter query. The next three queries we'll look at involve the query wizard. The first one is the Crosstab query, and as mentioned in the concepts video, it's very similar to a pivot table. For this example, I'm going to use a query that I created called Query Crosstab Base that only includes 3 fields: an invoice item description, an invoice date, and an invoice amount. To create the Crosstab query, select Query Wizard, and then select Crosstab Query. The next step will be to select the data source. So I'm going to select Queries and the Query Crosstab Base and click Next. The first thing it will ask you is, what field do you want to have as a row heading? You can have up to 3 fields. For this, I only want 1, just my invoice item description, so I'll select that and click Next. The next question it will ask you is, what do you want for the column headings? Well, for this, the date is what I want. I want to see the invoice items totaled by a particular date. Select date, and then it's going to ask me, how do I want to view it? So with dates, you can view it by date, by month, by quarter, by year. For this one, I will go ahead and select month, and then once I click Next, there's only one more field to select, which will be invoice amount, so you can choose which function you want to use. For this, I want a sum total. Selecting Next, I can now go ahead and view my query results, so I'll finish that. And with the billing table, there are only 4 months that are included, so I can see the sum totals for invoice items for January, February, and then going further down the crosstab, November and December. If this had a full year's worth of data, I could view it for the entire year. The next query we can create using the query wizard is the Find Duplicates query. I will select Find Duplicates, and this database is in good working order. It has referential integrity. The best I can do is show you basically an example of it. So I'm going to select Table Animal, click Next, and I'm going to select Animal Type as a duplicate value field. Multiple dogs, horses, and whatnot in there. So I'll select Next, and then I'll view everything, and I'll click Next, and then I'll finish to view the results, and here we go. I can see all of my duplicate information. So I've got 3 birds, 5 bisons, 4 cats, and so forth. The last query we'll look at will be the Find Unmatched query. With the Find Unmatched query, it has 2 main purposes. First off, to find records that don't have a match in a related table. So in this database example, I have an animal table and a visit table which are related to each other. I want to find animals that have not had a visit yet. Click on Create Wizard and select Find Unmatched Query Wizard. And the table that contains records that I want in the query results will be Table Animal. And the table that has the related records is Table Visit. Once I have selected both, then it'll ask me what is the common field between the two tables. So this has already figured out animal ID is it. So if it didn't, I would have to select it and then click the equal sign between it. Once I click next, I'll select all fields. And next, I'm going to view the results. And once I finish, I can see that I have 2 animals in the table that have not had a visit. Again, a find unmatched, if you're a business, is great to locate customers that, hey, maybe you haven't done business with in a while, so you'd want to contact them, kind of as a marketing tool. Now, the other use that a find unmatched has is if you are trying to establish referential integrity between tables. In my relationship screen, I want to create a relationship between table animal and table owner based on the owner ID field. When I try and create the relationship and enforce integrity and cascade and create, I get a message that tells me that there's data in the animal table that violates integrity rules. What this means is there is a foreign key in the animal table that doesn't match a primary key in the owner table. I am going to investigate what records those are using a find unmatched query. I'll close my database tools and go into my query wizard and use the find unmatched query. And for this one, I'm going to find out what animal foreign key is not working. So I want to select table animal to view in the results, and I will select the owner table as the related table. So from here now, I need to select what the common fields are. So owner ID. Once I select it, I'll click next. And from here, I want to see all of the fields from the animal table in my results. So once I click next and then finish, I can see that I have an owner ID 2410 that doesn't exist in the owner table. Opening the owner table, if I come over here to owner ID and use a little auto filter, I look for 2410, and indeed there is no 2410. In this particular case, I basically mucked up 2310 in the animal table, so it said 2410 just to demonstrate this. So if I come back over here in the query, I can change 2410 to 2310, and once I've done this, I close the query. If I go and try and run it again, I'll get no results back. Now the records match. From here, I can go back to my database tools and reestablish that relationship, enforcing and cascading, and then create. And now everything is good in the database world. Find and match queries work great for fixing integrity issues. That'll do it for part 1 of the skills video. Second part of the video will cover enhanced table design using validation techniques.